Let's talk about a glass house. I mean that literally, and, well, figuratively too. Imagine a place that's built for transparency, for openness, but then it finds itself under so much pressure that the whole world is watching, just waiting to see if it shatters. This is the story of censorship at the Bangkok Art and Culture Center.
And this quote right here from Sai, one of the co-curators, it just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly nails the insane irony of this whole situation. An exhibition about authoritarianism getting censored because of authoritarianism. You couldn't make it up. But it became a harsh reality in the summer of 2025.
So to really get why this was such a bombshell, you need to get to know the main character in our story, the Bangkok Art and Culture Center, or BACC for short. Since it opened back in 2008, it's become the spot for contemporary art in the city. It was, for all intents and purposes, a true beacon of openness.
And look, this wasn't just some marketing slogan they put on a pamphlet. The building's whole design, its very architecture, is meant to scream openness and democracy. It's physically built to get people talking, to spark a conversation between art and everyone who walks through the doors.
The way it's designed is just brilliant. You've got this huge circular atrium that's like the heart of the building, connecting everything. There's a massive spiral ramp that pulls you up through the different floors, and the best part is, because it's so open, you're constantly seeing other people, seeing their reactions to the art. It creates this amazing sense of a shared experience. And you have to know, this place is a miracle. It only exists because artists fought for 17 years to keep this spot from becoming another giant shopping mall. It's a real triumph.
And that welcoming spirit? It's everywhere. I mean, just look at the theme for their 2025 art book fair, You Can Sit With Us. It's so simple, but it says everything, right? It's an open invitation, a promise that this space is for everybody. And that's what makes what happened next so shocking.
Okay, so you have the stage set. Now you need the spark. And in this case, that spark was an exhibition. One with a really provocative, really political theme that was about to test the very limits of the BACC's mission. The show was called Constellation of Complicity. And its goal, was to literally map out how authoritarian governments across the globe help each other out. And they weren't being subtle by naming China, Russia, and Iran. They weren't just making some vague academic point. No, they were pointing fingers. And that raised the stakes a lot. And the people who made the art were just as important as the art itself. It was put together by the Myanmar Peace Museum and led by Sai, who's a dissident artist from Myanmar. The show is a platform for artists in exile. You had voices from Hong Kong, from Tibet, from the Uyghur community. So these weren't just paintings on a wall. These were acts of protest from people who had actually lived through repression.
So you've got this symbol of openness hosting a brave exhibition about oppression. What could possibly go wrong? Well, this is the moment where those transparent glass walls suddenly started to feel like they were closing in.
And things went south fast. I mean, chillingly fast. The exhibition opens on July 24th, just 3 days later. Officials from the Chinese embassy show up with city officials and basically demand they shut it down. By the end of the month, the BACC is being strong-armed into removing art just to keep its doors open. The pressure just keeps mounting, and then by late September, it gets downright dangerous. Sai, the co-curator, gets a tip that the police are looking for him, and he has to flee the country.
And this is what that pressure looks like in practice. This is what censorship is. On the left, you see the artists' names proudly displayed. And on the right, that's after. Their identities were literally blacked out, just gone, erased from their own work in a public art gallery.
And the censorship was totally systematic. It wasn't just one thing. Artists' names covered up, video screens just turned off, completely black. Any image of China's president, gone. Art by anyone from Hong Kong, Tibet, or the Uyghur community was either hidden or just taken down. Even a tiny postcard making a political point was removed. It was a clear, targeted campaign to erase specific points of view.
So the question is, how on earth did this happen? How did a place literally designed to be open become a scene of censorship? Well, that gets us to the real heart of the problem. A huge structural flaw built right into the BACC's foundation. Yeah, that's the big question hanging over all of this, isn't it? This place was created by a people's movement to save culture from big business. So how did it end up caving to political pressure instead?
Well, the answer, as it so often does, comes down to money. The BACC is a public space, but being public has a catch. Its total reliance on government funding makes it incredibly vulnerable. It creates a direct line from its budget to the whims of politicians. Basically, its artistic freedom was tied to political goodwill.
And this right here makes it painfully clear.
The Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or BMA, is the BACC's biggest financial backer. 85% of its funding comes from the city. 85%! That's not a partnership, that's a lifeline. And that massive power imbalance is the key to this whole crisis. So you can see exactly how this chain reaction worked, how that vulnerability was completely exploited. Step 1. The Chinese embassy leans on the Thai government. Step 2. That pressure gets passed down through the foreign ministry to the BMA, the city government. And step 3. The BMA, holding all the money, just gives the order to the BACC. And so you get to step 4. The gallery, stuck between its mission and its very survival, felt like it had to comply.
But censoring the art wasn't the end of it, not by a long shot. The consequences for the people involved and for Thailand's entire reputation were immediate and they were profound.
Let's not forget the human cost of all this geopolitical maneuvering. It was just devastating. Co-curator Sai and his wife literally had to run for their lives. After they heard the police were at the gallery asking for them, they grabbed the first flight they could, leaving everything, their home, their belongings, behind to seek asylum in the UK. This stopped being about art. This was about people's lives being turned upside down.
And what Sai says here, it really gets to the bigger damage. For a long time, Thailand was seen as a relatively safe place for artists and activists who had to flee their own countries. This one incident sent a terrifying message to all of them. That safety you thought you had, it can disappear overnight. So, what happened next? Well, the art world, both in Thailand and internationally, was furious. But here's the final beautiful irony. Trying to shut the exhibition down gave it a global audience it could have only dreamed of. Suddenly, everyone was talking about it. Of course, it also put Thailand's commitment to free speech under a microscope and laid bare just how fragile any cultural space is when it depends on the government to survive. Which leaves us with this really tough, really important question. The story of the BACC is a perfect case study. It was built to be a glass house, a symbol of freedom. But what happens when the very people paying to keep the lights on are also the ones telling you to shut the curtains? It really makes you wonder, can art that challenges power ever be truly free when the state is the one signing the checks?